Sajita shamme shamme wati shamme tashram mam kure mare sokorete kerue taso wati olanne beshuda mamale mala panaye kakure kakagase gasanne umke padumke amke shamitani sarvagra bandananne negretva sarva para pravalina vimukta mara pasha savita buddha mudra nukitata sarva mare pushtarita parishude vigansatu sarva mara karmani. So, a few things to speak about today to do with Tara, and I'll continue with yesterday concerning the great 8 fears, but I'm going to try not to wander around too much, which is a definition of samsara, but find a way to cover a number of which I think are very important topics for today that all have to do with this profound Tara, a practice. Of course, remembering that Tara and all her qualities are an embodiment of primordial wisdom, embodiment of Mahamudra, or great perfection, and never forgetting that, but also never to forget that the relative attributes of liberation and wholesome activity are also Tara's great qualities, which are great qualities. So first of all, we come back to these 8 great fears, remembering that really what is stopping us from awake activity, what's stopping us from great love is anxiety. We also have to differentiate, as I've said so many times, between fear and anxiety. Fear is something very natural to us. It's a physiological reaction to that which we know and which a very large proportion of society would say is dangerous, is ill-producing, would cause illness or damage or harm, truly, under the right conditions. Whereas anxiety so often may have a tinge of that, but more often, and this is the point here, is that anxiety has imaginary causes and conditions that many people, unless you have a deluded society or you have a large percent of society that's just now under massive delusion or drugs or something like that, would say, no, those don't actually have to do with these causes. So that is a hallmark of anxiety. And then, so terror would be a threat to one's life or so on. But you can have terror based on anxiety and fear. So when you think about the teaching and you think about the ability to unfold bodhicitta, that is compassion unified with suchness, with emptiness and interdependence, to liberate all beings, including oneself, the only thing that could be in the way, logically, experientially, and according to tradition, of course, is fear. And when there's no fear, there is trust. It doesn't mean that one doesn't have fear or concern or worry about those things that one should be worried or concerned about. There are things at a relative level that one should be worried, concerned, but not necessarily over worried and not necessarily overly concerned, but you take care of what needs to be done. So therefore, we have to remember that we need, all of us, short of full awakening, need 2 different things. We need antidotes, which are the relative means of skillful awakening, and we need to rest. I wouldn't say, let's not use the word rest. I think that leads to confusion. Dwell. dwell in self-liberation, dwell in suchness that naturally unbinds because it's free. If we get introduced or we discover the natural unbinding, the natural unclinging, non-clinging nature of experience, then we can recollect that and we can turn to that and we can let things unbind in that space. So when I see the word rest in that, I get a little bit concerned because it can stray into the idea of samatha. But in fact, we brightly, awakenedly dwell in the non-clinging awakeness, non-clinging brightness, naked natural awareness, and that naturally liberates. But we also have to remember that when we can't do that, which can be a great majority of the time or not at all, then we need to rely on antidotes, which are relative means of awakening, but always have in their core and speak about and have us practice, like in Lojong, the direct means to liberation. So it always points out liberation and bodhicitta. So I'm going to come to the 8 great fears in a minute, but first of all, where is the binding happening? Where is it really happening? So as Gyaltsen Sumgon and many, many great masters said, the difficulty is ignoring. The difficulty, and Namjin Rinpoche repeated this so many times, is ignorance, is not to see, not to look. And where not to see, not to look is actually in the teaching as progressive stages of learning, then what we might call insights of a relative nature. Jnana, N-A-N-A, jnana, is insights of causality, insights of real clear seeing that really clear up our lives. They may not be the full primordial wisdom, but they're really good. We see impermanence clearly. We see that all phenomena are impermanent. We see that all beings that cling, which is what beings do, they cling to the 5 skandhas, they cling to experience, they cling to appearances and concepts, therefore there is suffering. And because of non-recognition of the empty nature of self, there's tremendous clinging to there. So these great high relative insights, that basis leads to, unfolds to prajna, to in Tibetan, sherab, and then also can be conjoined or leads to, and then conjoined with jhana, which is primordial, ornate, or naked wisdom, suchness as things actually are, which of course is imbued with infinite great love and great compassion. So where really is the fear and the terror? The fear and the terror for most beings most of the time is unlove, is not feeling loved. That's really it. That's where the defense mechanisms are, and that's where the problems emanate from. So before we even get to ignorance, we have to look at the feeling of what beings really want. What do we want? We would like to be comfortable. We would like to be comfortable and not harmed. All organisms are like that. So if you study amoebas, you study bacteria, you study minks, and you study elephants, and you study primates and humans, you will see that what they would like to do is be comfortable. Even if they're active, they're comfortable, and they don't want to get harmed in any way, shape, or form. So what are they going to do? They're going to defend themselves against the feeling, the sensations and the feelings of being harmed, which are associated with not being loved, not being cared for, not being held, embraced. Of course, I don't know if a bacteria wants to be held and embraced, although they're very social creatures, so are fish. and they're incredibly talking and socializing all the time. I don't know enough to know if a bacteria wants to be hugged by another bacteria, but certainly primates and many other creatures wish to be physically in contact and physically supported. So I feel that at times today in perhaps Dharma, today in the practice of Dharma, that comfort and love, in terms of affectionate love, being at rest, is mistaken for liberation. I'm going to put that as a very strong statement. If the hat, as Namjin Rinpoche would say, if the hat fits, wear it. If it doesn't, it's fine. But it is, I think, an important point here that we can drift into believing that being comfortable physically and mentally is a type of liberation, when in fact it's not. Liberation is freedom from the poisons, and it goes beyond comfort or pain. It is liberation is the ability of a free mind to point out and to bring beings the liberation from the 5 poisons, and to realize the spacious, infinite, loving awareness that is naturally pervasive, called Buddhahood, called Tathagata. So an awake being uses their body, their speech, and their mind to bless beings. Now we're going to come to Tara, the 7 eyes of Tara, which I want to come to a meditation today for you, is the ability of an awake being to bring in countless ways for different kinds of sentient beings and different human beings in different states, blessings that actually liberate through body, speech, and mind, that go beyond comfort, go beyond pain, go beyond sorrow, and go beyond relative happiness. This is critical. So one point I also wanted to make today is that we have to be very careful that we don't create places of retreat, and for ourselves too, that are too comfortable, too sublimely godlike, but situations and places of practice in daily life that are not harmful to the body, not creating illness and long-term damage and sickness, but are not necessarily always a comfortable space. I think that's crucial, because we may be then moving towards affectionate love and thinking that is the Dharma, when it's considered to be actually a defilement. Now, affectionate love has its place in social interaction, but when it comes to liberation, we can stray into that believing that affectionate love and comfort is actually the Dharma, when in fact awakeness is. So we have to watch that we don't stray into factors of ego clinging, when in fact we're actually trying to challenge our ego and try to break out of those bounds into a spacious freedom. And you may ask, well, how do we do that? Well, the real great antidote, as I said yesterday, is refining mindfulness, but the factor of mindfulness, which is memory and recollection, which is the main meaning of mindfulness, besides attentiveness, being attentive. Okay? So by really refining the ability to recollect on what just happened, and that can be interpreted by many beings, but you have to do it for yourself, is recollect what happened and how it could be changed and refined for future outcomes towards liberation and freedom. This is really crucial. This is the 4 foundations of mindfulness. This is the path. And I believe it was one of the great Drikung masters, it might have been Gyaltsen Sumgong, that says we never, other great Kagyu masters too, we never finish with mindfulness all the way through to full awakening, because we need mindfulness at every turn. But what is that mindfulness? It's not just being attentive, that's part of it. It's the ability to keep reshaping and keep relearning that which should be adopted and that which should be rejected. Crucial. So if we turn, I hope I haven't actually been through all of this before, but maybe that's okay. But if we turn to the Buddha's Single Intent, which is great text, the Gonchig by Gyaltsen Sumgong, so those that may look this up, the Vajra Statement 5.14, or section 5, number 14, or 5.14. It's a mysterious statement. One of the most mysterious statements of all the Vajra statements is this: what is profound for others is not profound for us. What is not profound for others is profound for us. Now, what a mysterious statement if you didn't have a commentary. Well, his chief disciple made a commentary on that and said, what this is about is people who claim that the pith instructions of the inner yogas, I've said this before, but I want to go a little further, that the pith instructions of the channels, the winds and the drops, the inner yoga, the practices of Vajrayana, the practices of Tantra, are more profound than the 3 vows of refuge, precepts, and the bodhisattva vows, and so forth. This is a fantastic statement. So I too, I have been accused of only teaching Dzogchen, or only teaching Mahamudra, or only teaching Tantra. But actually, I feel for so long have been very strong on cause and conditions and cause and effect. And that's because the accomplishment of the Mahamudra, that is the stainless mind of great perfection, does not arise to read Chökyi Dragpa's great master of the Drikung. It does not arise without a cause that is accomplished earlier. So it says, similarly, the Vajrayana path of maturation and liberation, which is the thing that is profound for others, has no support if it lacks the vows of refuge, pratimoksha, that's one's precepts, whatever precepts we have, including the tantric precepts and the 5 precepts, and of the bodhisattvas, that is the bodhisattva vow, and so forth, which are not profound for others, but are profound for the Gyaltsen Sumgong and the Drikung. Moreover, for the mantra vows to arise, that is the mantra commitments, the commitments to unfold generation completion practices, the 2 lower vows of refuge and precepts are indispensable. Furthermore, even though concerning the empowerment as well, for empowerments, others hold the 3 higher empowerments to be profound, where we maintain that the Vaz empowerment is the root and the higher empowerments are its branches. Gyaltsen Sumgong says, even though others say that the higher supreme empowerments are profound, I value the Vaz empowerment greatly. It is like a basis, a container, and a body. The other empowerments are its particulars. Therefore, Chökyi Dragpa says, as middle and old age do not occur without childhood, similarly, the intention that is what is not profound for others is profound for us. It's the ground supporting the other subsequent teachings. The higher stories are not built without the lower. So this is crucial. So all through our practice, we need to always maintain an excellent mindfulness, recollection, remembrance, attentiveness to the very basis of awakeness, which never changes, which is the 5 precepts, which is the profundity of the 4 levels of refuge, which is the profundity of the bodhisattva vow, both the intention, the commitment, and the activity of bodhicitta. Therefore, we mature through the activities of the generation and completion stage practices, which bring out and soak out the qualities of the bodhisattva qualities and, of course, the Buddha qualities. This is essential. So before we come to the 8 great fears, I'd like to give out a meditation that a Namgyal Rinpoche would give out associated with Tara, which he would call, I don't know exactly, but he would call it something like the 7 eyes. So when we think of the 7 eyes of Tara, the 2 so-called physical eyes, the Dewa Chaku in the forehead, the 2 eyes in the palms, and the 2 eyes in the feet, these are like great receptors that we want to develop. And you see the feet are supportive. The hands manipulate. We don't mean manipulate in a negative way. They can be, but manipulate in a very wholesome way. The feet, the hands, the eyes, the forehead, these are all great receptors, but they're all great emitters as well. They receive, they also emit. So how do we purify these things? And you see that a lot of fear can be actually in the hands. And you'll see that if you do very fine motor activity, like jewelry, perhaps like pottery, like metalwork, something very fine, maybe very fine work with wood, maybe decorative work with vegetables, something like this. You will see that if you do it for many, many minutes or hours, that the channels through the fingers, through here, through the hands, go right to the heart. And by opening up the heart and opening up the hands, you will touch frustration and ignorance and greed and jealousy and pride. It's a very direct way. So we need to see that our hands are actually like wisdom eyes that not only interact, but to take in, like this, you see, like this, take in, to grasp, not grab, grasp, but they also emit wisdom. So not only do we want to purify ourselves, but we want to purify whatever we are giving off. Now, this may sound harsh. I wasn't there for it. I was told about it, and I can certainly picture it. But I believe there was a time in retreat where Namgyal Rinpoche took a whiff of people who were in retreat. I don't know if anybody was, I suspect there's people there who were there for that. But he sat down, he was giving a talk, beginning to give a talk, and he got up and he left. Kicked people out for not smelling. They don't realize what their effect is on everybody else. You might think that's weird. No, not at all. Great teaching. Wonderful teaching. So how we smell, you may say, well, no, how we smell is cultural, how we smell is biological. Yes, but actually how we smell is also our mental states, not just cultural. How we smell, how we feel, how we receive, how we give, all these things. The hand is profound. Refuge, generosity, not just giving, but also receiving wisely, with great insight, with great wisdom, with great merit. This is important. So how do we do that? We have 7 eyes. So what Rinpoche said is to walk with the 7 eyes. This is fantastic practice, by the way. I will say that one of the great memories of my life is the practice of the 7 eyes, practice that Namdra Rinpoche gave out, and many of us practiced, took some time to practice and continued, perhaps later on, many retreats, is to have your palms out while you're walking and feel what's coming in through the hands. This way, this way, this way, this way, this way, is actually allow the palms to open up and allow the palms to emanate, and the forehead to liberate, to release, to imbibe, to receive, and to feel what comes through the forehead and what emanates through the crown and the forehead. And the feet. The feet are so important. The feet for walking, the feet for sitting, the feet for lying down. You can do so much to the whole body through the feet. Neck ache, backache, headache, lower back, you'll see. Just work through the feet. Sometimes the most effective thing is not work on the shoulders or the back. Just go through the feet and redo the feet, travels all the way up through the body. The feet are also emitters. It is said that the Buddha had wheels of Dharma chakra wheels on his feet. Yeah, I'm sure he did. Yeah. So not just walking with bare feet because it's cool and it's yogi-like, but actually practice with your feet. Practice walking and use your feet, yeah, to receive and to emit. And your eyes, don't be afraid of looking. Don't be afraid of seeing. Don't be afraid of learning. Don't be afraid of, as the Buddha said, have perfect handicraft. Develop perfect handicraft. Develop vast learning. These are the blessings the Buddha talked about, Mangala blessings. Yeah. So this is something that Namdra Rinpoche, the great Namdra Rinpoche, taught, is a meditation, allowing the 7 eyes to open through awareness, through mindfulness, through recollection, and really feeling and sensing. And don't put projections on it, but really try to open up those 7 eyes, including these 2 physical eyes, and allow them. Even if your eyes are getting worse and worse and worse, it's amazing what you can see at a fine level. So I wanted to bring you that. And these also have to do with empowerment. To receive empowerment is to receive through your body. To receive empowerment is received through your speech. Receive empowerment is received through your mind. Yeah. So it is said in a number of places in the kind of esoteric higher tantric texts and places, it is said that one can receive empowerment through the Lama's body. What does that mean? That means even without the text or the ritual, the Lama's body, if it is truly a genuine master, can display awakeness from body to body, from speech to speech, from mind to mind. And it's beyond speech. It's beyond anything one can even really talk about. Yeah. So how do we do that? We have to have receptive bodies. We have to be able to feel and sense through our bodies and be able to shed the anxiety of paralysis bodies. We really need to get those bodies open, even if they are illusory. All body sensations are utterly illusory. All bodies are utterly illusory. The only bodies that are not illusory is Nirmanakaya, Sambhogakaya bodies. Everything else is utterly imagined and constructed by relative mind. Yeah, by causes and conditions. That includes genetics too, by the way. Don't think it's you. Think genetics. How strong genetics are, how strong it is to be born into a certain body. So the practice is to send and receive with utter purity, purification, purification, purification. We're all going to do this. I think it's time that all of us got to love purification. Like really love purification, not go, oh, I'm going to purify for a while, but actually love the process of purification, because we're going to do it, as Antra Rinpoche said, until we're fully awakened. So how do we cut through what is called in some places the great neurosis of the need for having to be loved? There's nothing wrong with the need to be loved, but if you have the core, a very deep experience of true emptiness, of true interdependence emptiness, you will come to the confidence and trust of great love. If you don't have that trust, if you don't have that trust of spacious freedom, which is actually love, great love, being able to be still, be able to do absolutely nothing in a space of love without terror, then one's actions, one's body, speech, and mind will have the taint of wanting something that brings that experience of comfort. We need to, even if we do things, which we will do many, many things, but we need to have the reference point, the golden standard, the vase, as numbers say, the vase of great love, the vase of love, Tara's palace. This is what it is. We need to have that in our heart. So no matter what happens to us, when someone says, you're an idiot, or you're stupid, or you're a fool, or you're full of pride, or you're wrong, even though you take that up and your heart seizes, your body reacts, there still is a reference point, a core of the universal love, the universal spaciousness, which is the freedom. So you need both. We need the causal love, and we need to have the reference point of suchness. We need both. I'm coming to the 8 great fears. I'm working up to it here. So the hallmark of neurosis is paralysis. That's what happens. And meditation can be paralysis. Too much calm can be paralysis. Too much activity can be paralysis. Too much of anything that isn't appropriate for the causes and conditions is a type of paralysis, frozen, even if it's active. And Tara, the manifestations of Tara, are anything but frozen. Her posture is, once she starts to turn green in all the different colors, she's very active. And when I was preparing for today, arose in my mind, I guess maybe Guru Yoga, but arose in my mind the vision or the feeling of Namgyal Rinpoche, his 16th Karmapa, Antra Rinpoche, Dalai Lama, the 17th Karmapa, Karma Tinley Rinpoche, many great masters. And when I think of all of them, they all have this blazing awakeness, this incredible power that's anything but being asleep and dwelling or resting. It's really an active aliveness of awake energy. It's like bursting energy. The Karmapa, 16th Karmapa was bursting energy all the time. It's fantastic to watch. Even when he was still and absolutely composed, saying Chenrezig Man, black hat ceremony, and absolute beautiful, radiant stillness and aliveness. You could feel the seething energy, aliveness of this awake mind. It's fantastic. Kala Rinpoche, all these great masters. So we have to be very careful that when we are paralyzed, when we are in the grip of neurosis, when we're in the grip of anxiety, our feet get frozen, our hands get frozen, our forehead gets frozen, our heart gets frozen, and we get paralyzed, which can be, you think, paralysis is where you don't do anything. No, paralysis is where you break things. Paralysis is where you smash things and you hoard things and you collect things and you harm and you get dull and you get stupid and you don't want to look and you don't want to learn. So think of paralysis as active as well, not just dull, not just shut down. I won't. But look at the paralysis of some of our leaders. Look at the paralysis of when we do things and we're very active in the kitchen and in the garden, outdoors, reading, whatever it is, and we're not even paying attention anymore. That's paralysis, because we won't be with it. We won't be investigating. So this is the key to ignorance. I'm going to share with you one of the things, the great insights I get about studying biological creatures. And I mean little creatures. You know, if I study big creatures like humans too much, I can lose sight of vast majority of creatures. But one thing I learned about little creatures is they're really on about survival. These little creatures are really intelligent about staying awake because they know cause and conditions. They know how rough it is. I think sometimes we get a little too comfortable. We need to challenge ourselves. We need to do projects. Namdra Rinpoche is great that way. Challenging projects, Dharma projects, physical projects, craft projects, science projects, travel projects. We need projects that challenge us, that bring us out of paralysis. He was great that way, Namdra Rinpoche. Let's go on a trip. Let's go on a challenging trip. Because when you come to retreat work, I think all of you out there pretty much, have all, not all of you, but most of you have done retreat work. Have all of you experienced absolute terror coming from nowhere? Total paralysis of no practice? Can't practice, can't walk, can't sit, can't stand, don't want to do anything. Utter terror. You have to come to that. Utter terror, utter anxiety, utter paralysis. It's fantastic. You have to know what that's like with utter clarity and recognize it. And by recognizing it, which is mindfulness, by recollection, that is paralysis. You have to work very hard to unparalyze yourself. That's mindfulness. I will get up now. I will sit now. I don't want to sit. I don't even want to meditate. I will. I'm going to. I'm going to do another session. I'm not going to go for a walk. I'm not going to go chop wood. I'm not going to go play in the garden. I'm actually going to sit through and manifest, walk through, stand through the paralysis, the active paralysis or the somnambulant paralysis. So this is the key. If you wish almost anti-comfort, We go to comfort because we want to be in a state of love, but actually it's not awake love, it's dull love. The practice, which I consider meditation, because that's how it was given to me by Namjin Rinpoche, the practice of the precepts is a profound, deep meditation that we can never, ever give up. And it's active. It's about anti-paralysis. The precepts. It's deep. It's so deep. The Bodhisattva commitments are so deep. Refuge will never, ever finish with refuge until full, complete awakening, because then we are completely all the sources of refuge rolled into one. That's the Vajrayana practice. To become all the source of, to become Vajradhara, to become Vajrasattva, to become white Tara, green Tara, and actually be that manifestation. So let's come to elephants. I may not even get past number one of the 8 great fears, elephants. The fear of getting trampled by blindness. This is it. The elephant is considered the fear, the terror of blindness. What is blindness? Well, we can go blind, but we may still have great wisdom. There have been great accomplished yogis and yoginis who have been essentially blind, maybe through years of practice too. But their wisdom is blazing wisdom. So even though the eyes may be open, we don't want to see. And you're going to say, well, how do I practice this? You have to physically feel the resistance. You have to mentally, which is physical. Remember, all mind, relative mind experience has a nama rupa quality. It's still linked physically. One has to develop the sensitivity to really feel that resistance. I don't want to see. I don't want to look. I wrote a note before I go on here. I wrote a little note myself today. We need to find the words that we're repeating that we need to try to cut out. We need to try to abandon. Phrases like this. It's okay. By the way, it may be okay. That's okay. It may be okay. The wisdom mind may be saying it's okay. But we need to know when we're saying okay, because we don't want to look, we don't want to engage, we don't want to go beyond our comfort zone. So phrases like, it's okay, it will be fine. In other words, everything's going to work out just fine. I suppose, supposition, I guess it will be. It's supposed to be that way. The situation should be this way. Why? No, it shouldn't. All beings at Dharma centers should be practicing the 5 precepts, bodhicitta, and so on. All beings in society, nice Canadians should know the law. Nice Canadians, yeah, no, not necessarily. It will all work out just fine. And then also, I feel it's okay. So all these kinds of statements of, I don't want to know, I want to be comfortable. And of course, causes and conditions can make us, future causes and conditions, because of the seeds of the present cause and conditions, can also make us very uncomfortable soon. So this blindness, let's not think about so much the lofty stages of no more learning. That's full Buddhahood. You know, that's on the edge of full Buddhahood. No more learning, no more meditation is so close to full Buddhahood. People say, yeah, I don't need to meditate anymore. But no, it's full. It's very close to a Buddha nature. But this blindness of the elephants, even though elephants can be incredibly intelligent, but as a symbol, is not wanting to learn, not wanting to study cause and effect, not wanting to know how this goes. So when the Buddha says a great blessing is perfect handicraft, which is pretty hard to do, right? For those that do handicrafts, my goodness. Well, we can reach for that, or the arts or the sciences. But is the blindness of not wanting to investigate. So I feel that the practice of science, not science, the practice of science, the lab work of science, the field work of science, practicing excellent craft, practicing excellent art, is such a good way of experimenting to see that what one supposes, what one feels should be right, is often not actually correct. It just isn't. It's our laboratory to open our eyes, to open our learning ability, to challenge our suppositions and see that what we were supposing, what we were told, may in fact, not always, may in fact be completely wrong. And often what we're told for hundreds of years, whatever, may in fact, if we do the research, be exactly right because 1,000 people, 1,000 individuals have experimented before us and have actually found it works beautifully. But actually, under these circumstances, we need to change it. We need to challenge our assumptions, our ideas, our feelings, our opinions, our beliefs, and see when they're erroneous and don't work in the face of practical experiments. We need to experiment. Now, one of the reasons I love lab work is because, like many forms of craft, we actually have to measure things and see the result. When you measure and you see the result, you can see whether your measurement or the way you put something together actually leads to good results. I think it's fantastic. So plumbing data, collecting data, gathering evidence, temperature, measurements, your hands like this, right? Put your hands out like this and just gather data, feel what that's like. Yeah. Feel what it's like to sit in front of a computer. Feels like to actually put your hand to a book or a dorje or a clock or a text, your forehead. Actually physically, mentally feel without putting stuff onto it, what actually one is sensing. Go the extra mile, go the extra kilometer, and really plumb the depths of the experience. So you'll see that when you come to paralysis, and it can be like this, sudden paralysis, sudden fear, sudden anxiety, sudden terror. There's no logic at that moment. There's no reasoning. There's nothing anybody can say, really, to change your mind in that frozen moment. So you actually have to unbind it through the antidotes. There's no logic to it. So one of the ways to do this, this practice of the 7 eyes of Tara, is to pick up the resistance, the leaden feet, the leaden body, the leaden turn of a head. Just listen to the word lead, leaden, not like air, but very, very heavy, frozen, stuck, and feel that. Feel what that's like and see if you can move out of the heaviness, out of the paralysis, out of the sleepiness into an awake quality, into a vivid awake quality. This is really it. And look for the excuses. Look for the stories. So moving on from blindness or the cause of ignorance, going blind, wishing to be blind, we come to lions, pride. How to work with pride. Pride of being lowly, pride of being the same as everybody else, also conceit, and pride of being superior to other beings. How do we work with that? We have to feel when that pride gets poked, and we need to work with that. We need to learn how to accept on a regular basis with equanimity, without moving, without change, just looking at it and seeing the physicality, feeling the physical stuckness and the paralysis that comes when our pride, our self-view is poked. And so go get it poked. Go get it poked. Put a smile on your face, put an evenness on your face and go, wow, look at that physical sensation. Look at that mental sensation of pride, of who I am, who I should be being poked. This is mindfulness. This is how Namjin Rinpoche used to teach, especially to me, because he used to poke me a lot, is my pride. Because still, boy, it'd be lovely, he still did, is poke away at it and see the reaction that comes up. And do you need to have that reaction? You might actually, because the poking may be actually destructive or offensive or unwholesome. But every once in a while, just go, it's like space. Poking and the pride is the experience of pride, the experience of a self that is solid is actually spacious conceptualization of something that actually has no basis. It has no solid basis at all. Blindness kills beings. Blindness entraps beings. It's the major one cause of dukkha. Pride is destructive. Narcissism, fully blown narcissism, is one of the most destructive, awful illnesses one could ever imagine, let alone minor narcissism. Fire. Next one is fire. Fear of fire. These are all, we don't have so much. We've taken care of a lot of these today. So we don't have so much fear all the time of these, but live in traditional society and whole cities have been burnt down, or good parts of cities have been burnt down with fire. One knows of historic times when people have been killed or houses burned down or so on of fire. So we should know that for many people around the world, the terror of fire is a very real thing. For us, not so much anymore with sprinkler systems and building codes and so on. Anger. Fire is associated with anger, the burning anger. So how do you know about anger? It burns. It floods the body with poison. It's like being on fire. Yeah. How do you quench the fire? Well, you either use an antidote like Lojong, breathing, the antidote of impermanence, seeing it come and go. These are all antidotes. Or if you have the ability and you have the training, you have the insight, see the empty characteristics of the, bless you, of the sensations. See the sensations have no clinging whatsoever. They're like clouds, like the wind. They have no nature. In fact, they have no intrinsic nature. So this is all to do with mindfulness. Not so much being in the present moment. That doesn't liberate. What liberates is recollection and changing the causes and conditions, including the internal causes and conditions of where the holding is. Okay, next one, poisonous snakes. Oh, on Galiano, we can't have that. We have no poisonous snakes on Galiano, but we do have them internally. Jealousy. Jealousy, another great poison. Jealousy kills. Jealousy is such a terrible poison. Horrible. destroys beings' lives. It destroys relationships, destroys friendships. It destroys, well, it's pulled apart retreat centers and dharma centers and monasteries. Jealousy. Read your stories, you'll see. All through the ages, 2,500 years, jealousy has destroyed teachers and students and torn down monasteries and so on, places of practice. Jealousy is terrible, terrible poison. How do you look at that? You have to see the flames of jealousy. It's like a burning anger. Not to have this beautiful space of love so that you feel that everything is actually fine in your being and not having to have what they have. Yeah. Have what you have. Thieves, fear of thieves. Maybe not so often anymore here in our society, but certainly in other societies, yes. Barbed wire, guards. And thieves are equated with erroneous philosophy. Now, erroneous philosophy doesn't mean that the other view shouldn't be entertained. It simply means that there are types of philosophical positions that actually are positions of dukkha. They're not positions of awakeness, they're positions of stuckness. And one has to actually recognize that they are really quite difficult. So when they mean erroneous philosophy, they mean erroneous views like nihilism or positivism or infinite, what's the word? Infinite lives or no rebirth, these kinds of things. These are all erroneous in that they will imprison. They actually, you think, oh, it's okay. You know, views are not important. Views are really important. Conceptual packages is what we live in and breathe in, and they're vital. So the poison of erroneous views, the erroneous mental worldviews can actually entrap us and place us into a poisonous state where we're actually paralyzed from moving. We may actually, in fact, do great harm. The next one is imprisonment, the fear of being imprisoned. This is a claustrophobic feeling. This is a feeling, maybe some of us have had dreams of being imprisoned, have a fear because in previous lifetimes, or maybe even epigenetically, all of us have been imprisoned. All of us have been entrapped. Yeah? So the fear of entrapment, the fear of being a prisoner, the fear of being locked into something and not being able to get out, this is a terrible terror. You have to feel it. You have to really come up to that. Yeah. And that imprisonment, which is associated with greed, how to get out of a prison? Well, you surround yourself, you start putting things in the prison. Yeah, that's right. So if you're in prison and you feel imprisoned, what would you do? You collect things. You pretty up your prison, and you don't look at the bars. You stay away from the walls, but you actually put decorations on the walls. I'm looking around this room and going, whoa, look at the decorations. Whoa. But prison is a type of claustrophobia. It's a type of walls coming in and you can't breathe. You're irritated. You can't move. You're feeling of stuckness and paralysis. Yeah. Watch out. You may run into an addiction. You may now start to eat or consume or take things in to the point where you're trying to do nothing else but break out of your confinement. Is there any confinement actually? In a relative sense, there could be. But if you look at the lives of some of the great saints, like St. John of the Cross and some of the great Tibetan masters who were imprisoned, they said they had some of their best realizations while in prison. Can give you a great opportunity to bust out of that need to be greedy or to be wanting. The next poison next to fear, if you wish, great fear, is water. And water is associated with desire and attachment, greed again. Another form of greed is watery, liquidy attachment that keeps flowing into everything. And wherever it goes, it picks something up. So if you look at water, it has a meniscus, it has a surface tension. And you'll see that as water runs along, it gathers dirt and dust and leaves and things like that. So we have a terror of being subsumed by water, yeah, of being drowned in water, of being overcome by water. And of course, that is being overcome by desire and attachment. Very sticky states. And the last of the 8 great fears is the fear of demons. What demons today? Well, maybe we don't have belief in demons, but we can have belief in demon administrators, demon politicians, demon capitalists, demon socialists, demon board members, demon committees, demon friends, demon relatives, demons all around us, trees that suddenly fall down and smash into buildings caused by demons. But demons are in the tradition associated with doubts, non-confidence, non-trust, non-faith. Non-faith in what? Non-faith in the natural abiding nature of Dharma. Is when we have the doubt, I think it's been said many times, I certainly use it a lot, is whenever doubt comes in, it is the demon of meditative retreats. It's the demon of Dharma activity. You'll see that what gets Dharma practitioners short of very high states of bodhisattva attainment is really doubt. That's why the Tibetans and the Indians constantly say, the number one thing we need is devotion. Why? Devotion, confidence, faith. Why? Because the demon of doubting self, that is the potential, self as the potential for Buddha attainment. That is the doubt that all beings can attain Buddha wisdom. The doubt that the Dharma is actually liberating is the one thing that's going to get us. It's the one thing that's sitting down there, and we come back to the terror of unlove. And we come back to the terror of non-trust in not the universe, but trust in the Dharmakaya, trust in the unborn nature of phenomena and experience. And that's what it all comes down to. And that's why we need to realize the Dharmakaya. We need to realize the Tara. We need to realize the nature of the Mahamudra, Tara's wondrous face and wondrous qualities. Well, and there was a couple of questions before we take a break and before we enter into some meditation. We have a few questions here. Here's a question: is the tum is white? Yes. Are the seed syllables on the mantra garland colored? No. In the case of white Tara, the seed syllables are all white. You can visualize them like pearls if you can't see the seed syllables clearly, which is not easy to do, especially at the beginning, unless you have really good visualization abilities. Then I would recommend seeing them as beautiful pearls or diamonds or moonstones like that. If so, what colors are they? Yeah. And do they rotate counterclockwise? Yes. When it is a female yidam, they rotate counterclockwise. And that was asked by another person too. Which way do they spin? Almost always, almost invariably, when it's a male yidam, clockwise. When it's a female yidam, counterclockwise. And that's looking from above or in front. And do we count both mantras and submit the sum, or submit each mantra sum separately? I would put them all together. If you want to do hundreds of thousands of the long life mantra of Tara, which is also Tara. Count those if you want to do the short essence mantra of Tara. Do those if you want to do both. I would just count them all together. I think it's all Tara. Let's put them all together, and that's fine. I don't think we need to separate the mantras, but it's a good question. I appreciate that. That's great. So let's take a 5-minute pause, and let's take a little break, and then we'll come and practice together this very pithy practice of Tara.